I am here with my traveling partner and friend, Steve Mastny.
Companion, maybe.
Yes, companion. We're not friends.
We can be friends.
Okay. We're here at the Kernel in London, UK. Quite impressive.
Yeah, you kind of see the white corrugated metal behind us. We're in an old railway arch. Quite the soundstage.
Yeah, quite the soundstage. We have to apologize, but this is just what it's going to be like. I mean, it's just going to be loud and echoey and whatever. We're in a big corrugated aluminum walled place. But that said, just wanted to, we had some time. I was very impressed by this brewery, so I wanted to get some beers and share them with you, talk to you guys a little bit about this place. What were your initial thoughts about the Kernel?
It's, I mean, so we walked in and we immediately started talking with Jonah, who, volunteered quite quickly to kind of give us the tour. And it's a neat place. We've been to 4 breweries now.
Yeah, all the commercial breweries have all been in railway arches.
Right.
And we've got some photos.
Except
I'll put them in.
Yeah, there was one in a pub in a basement that was like literally 6 feet tall, so you had to kind of stoop. And this one is by far the most kind of advanced, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's a more of a, I don't want to say professional because they're all professional, but you can see that they've been doing it a little longer. They've had this equipment a little longer, and they've kind of got their operation down a little more. It's a larger, more expansive operation.
Right. And just a little bit more, like you said, it's a little bit more professional. I mean, it's a little bit more dialed in, a little bit more fine-tuned, a little bit more, I think, thoughtful, or at least they're in a position where they can be thoughtful. I mean, some people would wish to do things, but they just don't have the ability to do it. So.
And ultimately, the beer. I mean, the beer.
And it shows.
Is terrific.
Yeah, the beers are wonderful. So we have 3 beers here. I don't even know what they are. What are the 3 beers?
All right, so we've got the London the London Sour, and then the table beer, which is like a 3.4% pale ale, essentially. Yep. 3 point something anyway. And then this is the black IPA, which neither of us have had yet.
Right.
We've gone through the whole rest of the range.
Right.
And
the story behind these guys is they started in 2009. I guess it began when the founder went to America, had a bunch of really hoppy beers, and came back to the UK, was drinking the local beers and said, I can't deal with this anymore. There's nothing really big and hoppy. Not just hoppy, but using a lot of these American hops, a lot of the Pacific Northwest hops. So he wanted to come back to the UK and brew some of the beers that he loved here, which to me is so bizarre. I mean, I tell stories of breweries all the time on this show, and they so often start with, he went to England and tried beers and came back and didn't have anything good and started. So it's funny now that America is starting to be the inspiration for other great breweries around the world.
Right. It's sort of a positive feedback loop. We're getting the inspiration from them, they're getting it back from us, and hopefully this can keep going on. And we'll get more and more esoteric, but more and more good beers.
And it's becoming a little bit meta, I was saying, because you've got these big American styles that are based on traditional English beers. You have your pale ale, your IPA, your porters, your stouts, all English styles that then the Americans have kind of embraced, especially with stout and IPA and pale ale. Kind of took it, made it their own, Americanized these styles, and now these English brewers, we went to a couple different breweries yesterday and one today, and all 3 had the commonality of they wanted to take these American versions of English styles and then make English versions of the American version. So it's like you said, it's a feedback loop, and it's very, very cool.
And to be fair to the Brits generally, we're still early on in the trip. We've only been going to the new craft ones, and we're going to be going to an older craft next, and then to some traditional places, Fuller's, Marston's. So I think we're going to see the flip side, which is we've been doing this for hundreds of years this way. You Americans are pipsqueaks, and justifiably so.
All right. Anyway, so we've got the pale first, right?
Yes.
Over here. So I think it's 3.5%.
Give or take, I think it's that range.
They change the hop every time they do it.
Okay.
This is single hop mosaic. Very, very popular hop in the States. Just really kind of beautiful, clear beer here.
I'm just going to take this one to say cheers for you.
Cheers. Very fruity. I mean, that classic mosaic profile, American pale ale all the way. There's not a lot of English malt character here specifically.
Yeah, it's more, you know, if you've had New Glarus Moonman, you know, they go for that body that's like, there's malt there, but the point of the malt is strictly to showcase the hops, and this one's even lower in alcohol, so it's distinctly beer flavored, but to present the hops. You know, it's almost watery, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's aqueous. When it's good watery, it's aqueous. And
okay.
Yeah, and when I almost get a bit of like tannin or something from the hop. It seems like a little bit of like a vegetal tannin.
Yeah, I would call it like almost like an earthiness, like
yeah.
You know, like approaching like a dirt kind of a thing. And I think we're talking about the same thing, but describing it differently.
Yeah, super clean, really nice, low carbonation, which I have noticed here in the UK. They do like their beers. These are not cask beers; these are keg beers, but they want them a little bit lower in carbonation level.
Well, and interesting on the keg side, they're using these key kegs. They're these plastic kegs that actually have a bladder inside of them, and so when they're dispensing the beer, whatever gas they're using, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, whatever, they're pushing on the bag, so the dispensing gas never actually contacts the beer in the bladder. And these are all keg conditioned, so they're not forced carbonating. They're just putting the beer in the cask, still essentially letting it condition for a couple of weeks, getting that final. So it is real ale, very much in the cask tradition.
Right.
It's just a different dispensing vessel.
Yeah. Yeah, very. It is interesting because it's almost all forced carbonation here, well, in the States, and here, hardly. We went to one brewery that was forced carbonating, right? Everywhere else is doing conditioning.
Yeah, conditioning seems to be, and obviously it takes more time. You need to build up more inventory because
so more money.
Right. Although on the other hand, Jonah did tell us that basically they're at the point now where every time they brew a beer, on the brew day they've already sold the beer. Now I don't know like what the terms are, cash up front or whatever, but the fact is everything that they're brewing, they know that it's going to take 2 weeks in fermentation and another 2 weeks in conditioning, and someone is buying that beer so that the day it's ready, it can go out.
Right.
So, I guess if you can do things that way, it helps you with the whole inventory situation.
Yeah. Second beer we have here is, what is this one? London Sour.
Yes.
Absolutely. Very much, they call it a London Sour. It's
beautiful looking beer.
Beautiful, very light, very drinkable, very lemony. It's a Berliner Weiss. Someone at a brewery we were at yesterday was talking about this style that seems to be catching on, this London style sour. To me, I don't notice anything different from this and a Berliner Weiss, really at all. There might not be any wheat to it.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is I'm not sure that they're brewing with wheat, and it's so clear, so incredibly clear. And the methodology on this is, Berliner Weiss, a lot of people would traditionally do like a sour mash. They're doing a similar technique. What they do is they mash, they pump everything into the boil kettle, and then before they boil, they go ahead and add lactose straight into the boil tank.
Right.
Allow it to kind of get to the point that they want it to in terms of acidity.
They measure the pH. When the pH hits a certain point, they begin the boil. So
and it kills all the lactose.
They boil the wort, you've dialed it in, you've got no more bacteria in there, and it seems to be what a lot of people are doing now to dial in these beers and make sure they're getting the acidity they want.
And it's still going through then a Saccharomyces, type fermentation with regular beer yeast, and it's different from like Off Color in Chicago they're doing a lacto batch and a Saccharomyces batch, and they're doing them both in the fermentation tanks, and then they're blending the flavor.
Right.
These guys are saying, no, we're going to dial in our wort to the exact acidity we want, which is the more traditional way to do a Berliner, but they're saying we don't want to be dealing with this gross, goopy grain that's soured. We want to do it second.
And the inconsistency of, it's much harder to dial it in on the mash side because it's continually up until the point where you're then, adding it to the mash, draining off the wort, bringing it up to heat. The lacto is continually working, potentially.
Right. Well, and you don't necessarily have control of what is in there. So there's going to be lacto and also PDO and various other things that are living on the grains.
Right.
Whereas with this, they can pitch one thing that they know does what it wants.
Well, even if you pitch pure lacto in the mash.
Well, but I'm saying the mash naturally has all the grains, and the grains are where these things live.
Right.
So that's where it would normally come from.
Right.
So even if you pitch the lacto, you have no control over everything else.
You're right, I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You're just,
You are right though. Yeah. Anyway, delicious beer. And then the third one, I don't even know what this beer is.
so give it a taste and tell me what you think it is. It can be like a little mini blind episode. For
Yeah.
you. So I'll describe the aroma while you.
It's certainly chocolatey.
I guess I don't have to describe the color because this is video. I'm used to the audio podcast.
It's got like a cheddar cheese
really
smell to it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a hard rind, like that like salinity that you get from cheeses sometimes.
I haven't smelled or tasted this beer yet. I do know what it is. So, but you're making me very curious to. Oh yeah.
It's like a porter with some aged cheddar cheese quality to it.
Those are rancid hops. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to ask Jonah. We'll be like, hey man, what's the story? So what do you think this is? I mean, it's kind of an unfair question since it's not, I think, probably quite the way they want it. But,
Right.
wow, really cheesy.
Super cheesy, right?
Yeah, like not subtly.
We have another sip. So I'm trying to guess the style here.
Yeah. I mean, we know it's dark, right? Obviously. So it leads like, only, it's not a pale ale, certainly.
No. A black IPA. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Black IPA, but very much closer to a hoppy port. I mean, it's got a lot of dark roast. It's got a lot of body to it. It's definitely more towards the hoppy porter than the black IPA. It's not a hoppy porter, but it's in that realm of things where you have an IPA that's black in color and a porter with a lot of hops. And right in the middle, you got the black IPA. This is closer to that porter style.
Yeah, the kind of the cheesy aroma is unfortunate because it actually tastes really nice. I don't get that cheese in the flavor at all, and I get more of the kind of citrusy, almost orangey, like Centennial kind of a nice hop flavor there in the back. Not really a lot of roast, which puts it more towards the black IPA, less in the porter.
And there's like a lemony flavor to the hops as well. You don't really get any tartness, but it's got the flavor of lemon. So you've got this dark roast and lemon kind of going together. I like it. It's my least favorite of the three for sure. Well, these two are pretty phenomenal.
What's funny is that we've tried basically every single beer on tap here except for this one, and I would say that this is by far the least good beer that we've tried today. So it's unfortunate we brought it on the show, but it makes for good television, right?
Yeah, and they do have a barreling program as well. Really cool. I got some photos of it. Just, I mean, the way you put it was they've already almost got this atmosphere, this terroir growing in there that would make them seem like they've been right there for 100 years. And I'll show you the pictures, and it kind of looks damp and cold, perhaps, and it is. It's got this, you can like kind of feel the air, like taste the air as you're breathing it in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we're describing these railway arches, and I mean it's basically these big brick arches that they've lined to make them cleaner and more, welcoming to humans. But they put these all in the brewery, except in this one space where they said, I think we want this unlined. And you walk in, it's damp, it's clammy, it's colder, and there's just this smell in the air of like kind of a damp mildew. Not like overly off-putting, but like walking into a damp cellar kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And the damp environment is great for the barrels, and it just lends a lot of character. And they've been in the space 2 years, and you walk in there and you're like, this would not exist anywhere in America, I don't think. Like this Victorian brickwork and artwork. They're able to incorporate the history of the city right into their new facility. It's cool. It's really cool.
It is super cool. Very impressed. I was expecting this place to be cool, and I was even more impressed when I actually came here. These guys know their stuff. Steve was just hammering this guy with questions, and he had, just in stride an answer for everything. Not your typical guy. He was literally the person pouring the beer, and was like, yeah, sure, I'll walk you around. And if you would never have that level of knowledge anywhere I've ever been to in the States. He was just intimately familiar with these beers. Incredibly impressive.
It never became clear to me exactly what Jonah's role was. I think he must be the brewer. If he's not, he certainly knows a lot.
Yeah.
So, cheers to Jonah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Cheers to Jonah, and thank you guys so much. I think that's about it. From the Kernel here in London, we've got some great beers to drink. These two certainly, and hopefully you do too. See you guys. Cheers.
And if I can, go have a beer.
Go have a beer.